morning, everyone. It's Amanda Aguilard. I'm happy to see lots of friendly faces popping in. It looks like people are jumping in, so I'll take just a second and let everyone get settled. So this is a little bit about me. What you really need to know is that I've been using Xero a long time because I love it. I started my practice back in 2012 in New Orleans and picked Xero really early on. So because I was pretty early in that adoption, kind of had to figure my way around. So in doing that, just figured out a lot of things early. It's kind of like the frontier back in 2012 and 13 in the cloud, and use that knowledge to co-found Elephant with Monica. Okay, here's our plan for today. So this summer I wrote a book on Xero. It'll be out in the spring. It's called Xero, A Comprehensive Guide for Accountants and Bookkeepers. And in writing that book, I realized there were pieces of Xero that had either been developed or tremendously improved in the last, let's say, year or 2 years that I didn't really understand. And so I figured if I didn't understand those functions and those modules fully, there were probably a lot of other folks who didn't as well. So I decided we would do this as a webinar. This webinar is going to be almost entirely in Xero. So I just want to give you the slides so you can know where we're going, but then we're going to jump over to Xero and be in Xero for pretty much the whole time. So the first thing we're going to cover is short-term cash flow. This is an in-product dashboard that Xero added recently, and also business snapshot, also another in-product dashboard that Xero has added. So we'll cover those and talk about what makes up the tiles and the pieces and how those can be customized. We're going to talk briefly about custom chart of accounts. So you guys may not have seen it on your side. I think it is still in beta to be released fully soon, but I am going to show you what you're going to be able to see for custom chart of accounts in Xero HQ. Report templates. Report templates is probably one of the biggest time savers in Xero for your practice. So we're going to talk about how to manage that and dive in a little bit deep on some things that may not be as clear. So we're going to talk about some special customization and report templates. And then if we have time at the end, we'll touch just briefly on Budget Manager. Okay, I think everybody, since you guys have been on Xero for a while, for the most part, you should all probably know that Xero does have a demo company available to all users. It is populated with some data, so you can get in and you can play around and then you can reset it. So we use the demo company tons when we're doing training, and I find it's pretty helpful if you want to just test something, especially if you want to test integrations. Using the demo company is pretty useful. So everybody's got access. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows that. I'm going to make my screen a little bigger so it's easier for you guys to see. Okay, so our next thing to look at are custom charts of accounts. So to do that, I've got to go into a different login because this is just in beta, but custom charts of accounts. So if you were in Xero HQ, which I think everyone should be familiar with, just in case you're not, Xero HQ is the practice management platform for Xero. For all your clients, not just Xero clients. But if you are in Xero HQ and you go over to practice and chart of accounts, what you likely will see on your end are these charts of accounts, but they probably don't have the copy template buttons next to them. Okay, so Xero recently, maybe over the summer, if somebody, I know there's some experts on here, if you guys can ping me on the exact timing when they release charts of accounts in the questions, that'd be awesome. But I feel like it was maybe the beginning of the summer that they rolled out charts of accounts at the practice level. So Xero grabbed some charts of accounts that were commonly used and they said, here you go, we're loading them in Xero HQ so that when you add a new Xero organization, you go through that, startup setup wizard, you have the pull down and you can select the chart of accounts to use. It will be one of these, or you get the option to use one of these. Well, clearly we all have different preferences in the charts of accounts that we use. So that was a starting point. This is the next piece of it that's going to be released coming out, which is you can take these templated charts of accounts, customize them, and then use those custom charts of accounts in client setup. So this is what you're going to see when it goes live. So let's grab a chart of accounts. Let's just pick generic. And on mine, you'll see I can open it and see what's in the chart. I can't. Let's go back and copy it. Let's copy this template, and that way we can do that we can customize it. Okay, so you grab one that's close to what you want, you copy it and rename it or save it as another name, and then you can from here add and delete lines. So if this is something that I'm not going to need to use prepayments, that's not something I want in my custom chart of accounts, I just open it, click delete account, and it takes it off of the chart for me. If I want to add a new account, I just use the big green button at the top right and create a new account. Let's see, let's go grab. Let's add code, let's call legal expenses. I'm going to choose an account type, which would be just the high level classification. So this is an expense. Select a tax rate. And then report codes. So the next section we're going to get to is report templates and report codes. But it's really important that going forward, we link all of our general ledger accounts to a report code. And we'll talk about that in a second. But I would want to go in here and say, okay, this is an expense, and it is some kind of, let's see, other expense, so that I'm getting a report code assigned to our newly created general ledger account. Save, and now this template will be able to be used at the firm level when new clients are created. At this point, we can't import these. Hopefully, that's another thing that's going to come soon. But hopefully we'll be able to start to do this in bulk. But for now, it is still pretty good that we can create these custom charts of accounts and be able to use them across the firm. All right, so let's go back to our demo company. Okay, so the next section we're going to talk about is report templates. Report templates are firm level skeletons of report packs that can be run at the client level. So I think it's easiest to look at it by looking at this slide. So let's think about the problem that originates from creating firm level reports. So in general, or it used to be, that reports are driven based on general ledger account codes, right? So if you have a client and you want to build a report, you would, a lot of times you'd say, okay, well, all the 1000s, those are assets. Those go in the asset section of the balance sheet. The 2000s are liabilities. Those go in the liability section of the balance sheet, and so forth, right? So we would classify and group accounts based on their general ledger account code. The problem with that is that, you guys know, all your clients have different charts of accounts. You might have clients that are just adding in codes wherever they can, or they're making up codes. Like, I swear, I had one client who started themselves on Xero, and their code for like the checking account was the word check, because Xero will let you have an account code made up of any number or letters up to 10. So like their office supplies was office. So these account codes are never consistent between firms or between clients. But what we can do is put on top of that a structure that is identical for every one of our clients. And those are called report codes. I actually have a little handout in the handout section, commonly used report codes. So these are the Xero report codes that are most often used. If you download that, you'll see that those codes are combinations of 3 letters, and they're extensions with periods in between. So the expense section, or the expense codes, will be exp dot, and then it goes into each level, each 3-digit code going forward is more and more specific. So this gives us consistent mapping across files. And what happens, as you can see on the slide, is that at our client level, we might have, cost of goods sold for 3 different clients that have different account codes, they have different titles, they're for different types of clients. But if we can make sure that all those are filtered into one report code at the template level, then they're all going to go to the same section, the cost of goods sold section on the report. So that's how we get consistent reports. I will say, talking to folks, when I was writing the book, I was talking to product people, God bless them, all the time, and asking about things that are coming down the pipeline. And what they've indicated to me is that there probably will be more intelligence tools in Xero being built on report codes rather than general ledger account types. So really important to do this, to do the coding. So let's go and look, and I'll show you where those report codes are set up in Xero. Okay, so let's go back into this, and let's go to accounting, advanced, and report codes. Okay, so this is where we set our report codes within an organization. The ideal situation is when you set up a new organization in Xero, you either use the custom chart of accounts that I showed you that has report codes associated with them, or if you're going to upload your own using a CSV file, that you make sure that there is a column in the CSV file for the report codes. Because once you go to, if you have to go into the client to manage the report codes, like we have here, like if you have an existing client, you'll need to go in and export it, fix the codes, and re-import it. Now, when you assign, when you create a new general ledger line in the Xero file, if you just do it using the chart of accounts, new account tool, you'll have to come back in here and assign it a report code. So what Xero does is, in the report code screen here, the first tab would be every account on the general ledger. The for review would be codes that are accounts that you need to go look at to see if they need a more specific account code. So when Xero creates a new general ledger account manually, it only assigns a very high level of like the ASS here for assets. It assigns that level of report code that's not specific. You need to get it down to a more specific level. So it pulls into this for review tab anything that Xero thinks you should go look at. So let's look at our, let's just grab one, like office equipment. So we can see office equipment here is, appropriately classified as an asset as a report code. We're going to go make it more specific. As the type, it is a fixed asset, which is correct when we set it up. But in order to get it on the right place in these, in the report codes, we need to assign it a more specific mapping. So we'll go into assets, and then you just drill down. It's very simple. You just drill down to go more and more specific. So we're assets, we're non-current assets, we're fixed assets, and then we're furniture and fixtures. So we do not go to the next level, which would be accumulated depreciation. We keep it here and we hit OK. And we'll see that it has taken it off of this page because it's no longer questionable. And it'll say, okay, well, here is the coding, and it'll mark when you posted the coding. Okay. All right, so let's go into building reports. So report templates live in Xero HQ. under reports. So we know we're in Xero HQ because it's a black bar at the top. We go to reports. This is our reports screen. In full disclosure, I need to tell you guys, I was testing this morning and I was getting some funky errors. So we're going to do our best to see if maybe they've worked out and just roll with it. So report templates. Okay, again, these are the skeleton report packs that we can customize and create here in HQ and then go into our Xero organizations and grab to use for that client. In report templates, there are some that are pre-populated, preloaded by Xero. I think I know more are going to be added in the next couple of months. So we can use the templates that Xero has created for us. We can copy and modify a template, or we can create one from scratch. So for our example today, we are going to try grabbing one and creating it. I'm sorry, we're going to grab one, copy it, and modify it. So let's go to new template pull down, copy from sample compilation report, and copy. And there is a question, somebody's asking if they're saying they don't have a reports tab in Xero HQ. That is a permission issue. So if you are a user in a practice and you're not the practice manager, someone would have to turn that on for you to see it. Okay, so what I did was I took the sample compilation report that Xero has created for us and I copied it and renamed it. So this is important. So a report template, again, is a report pack. It's a set of reports. It can be just one report, but it's the whole, it can be lots and lots of reports. And the way we see what's in a report pack is by using the pull down, and we'll see these are the contents. So this report pack, sample compilation report pack, has all of these things in it. We can manage the contents by clicking edit, and we can actually drag and drop. So this is kind of a common thing in Xero where you see the little dominoes on the left. That means you can reorder them. You can delete, and then we can scroll through and see what reports are available. We could also add a report. So if I wanted to include the account transactions report, for example, I could go in and grab it if I wanted to include certain details of certain accounts. Okay, so let's scroll through these reports. These look just like the organization level reports, right? We would edit them the same way. So if we want to reconfigure our balance sheet in this report pack, we would go into the edit, and it's exactly the same as what we get at the Xero org level, where we can add text boxes, we can add schedules, footers, rows, columns, and we can add page breaks if we want. So the editing piece of this is identical to reports in the client org. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to pop them in, but I'm going to assume that everyone knows how those work. Okay, so now we're back in our, and we would save this, right? You would make the customizations, you would save it, and this would be your new report pack. One thing I do want to point out that we get in report templates is the availability to run an indirect cash flow statement. So if you are in a Xero organization and you go to your reports, this is not an option. It is only available in the firm level. So if you want to run an indirect cash flow, you should set up a report and then run it in HQ and then run it in the client organization side. Another thing I want to point out that's really cool about report templates, I swear I did not know this existed before I wrote this book, is the availability of report fields. Okay, so if we are creating these report packs at the firm level, we want to run them at the client level. There may be situations where we have standard disclosures at the bottom, notes, supplemental schedules that we want to make consistent across all of our orgs, but they have information that's specific to the client. we can use report fields for this. So report fields are, as you see here, this is a report field where we can write a note, some text, and then drop in a field that's going to be dynamic. It's going to change based on who's running the report. There are three kinds of fields. There are preset fields. So these are fields set by Xero that meet common needs. It's stuff that's, it's mostly like either date driven or organization setting driven. So it could be EIN, legal or trading name, address. It could be the current date, the current year, report year end. So it's things that are already living in Xero as a function of that organization being set up. Second type is client fields. So this is client specific information on reports. This is defined at the HQ level, but the text is detailed in the client organization. I'll show you that in a second. An example of this would be a board of directors listing. So if you've got a bunch of nonprofits and you want a part of your report pack to be the list of board of directors, you can create a field that's board of directors and then put it in your notes where you want it. And then every time you run it at the client level, it will pull the client specific information. And then the third kind of report field is a practice level field. This is going to be static text that might need to be used across reports. So that lives at the firm level. So it could be the managing partner of the firm or information about the structure of the practice. So something that's going to be the same across your clients, but you'd want to be able to drop it in where you'd like as a report field. Okay, I'm getting a buzz that a couple people are having problems with the view. Are you guys seeing my screen update? Just raise your hand if it looks good to you. If it looks like if you see the, now we're on the report template screen. Okay, cool, thanks. I appreciate it. Okay, so report templates. I'm gonna show you report fields real quick because I think this is a function that folks even who use reporting maybe don't understand that it's here. But report fields would be here. So as I mentioned, they're client fields, practice fields. The third kind are the Xero preset fields. So those are run by Xero. But we could create a client field here. So mission statement, this could be the client's mission statement, something we want to include on the reports. Practice fields, again, this could be something about the firm. These financials are presented, prepared by this firm. But let me show you where the client fields are managed. So if we go back over into our Xero Blue Advanced and report fields. So we can see mission statement. I set up that option as the at the HQ level, but I would go into the Xero Blue org and type, this is our mission statement. And that would be different for every, client org. All right, and then to show you how reports are accessed in Xero Blue or in the client org, let me get back 1 second to report templates. When you've done all this customization, you've created these like awesome reports and you're ready to use them, it's important that they are saved. And when you go in a draft, you'll see, I don't know if this is going to work because it was a little bit weird this morning, but here's the one that I edited. I need to make sure, can you guys see at the bottom right, ready to use? That's basically like saving it. So I'm going to save it, ready to use, and that will put it over in the, let's see if it's going to save. Okay, great. Okay, cool. So it puts it in the ready to use tab. It has to be in this tab or we won't be able to access it in the client organization. Okay, so we need to make sure that it's in this tab. Then when we go over to reports here, we'll go to the advisor tab at the top and it's available for us to use. So we can run it at the client level by just opening it. And then once you're here, you can still edit your reports just like you do normally. But it'll start with that framework, that skeleton that lives at the HQ level. Okay, one last thing. Any questions about report templates? that I could probably do 4 hours on report templates, and we just covered it in about 17 minutes. So if you have questions, please put them up there, and I'll be sure to either answer them on air or afterwards. I'm going to go back on the questions panel too and see if I've missed anything. Yes, Heidi, for chart of accounts to put report codes, you should be able to export from that screen, add them, and then use that handout that I dropped in. Use that handout to type them in, and then import them back in. And again, I'm happy to answer any last minute questions. You can reach me at amanda@elephanttraining.com. Okay, hope everybody has a great rest of the day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks.